Killer Kross. Killer Kross is a name you may recognize from Lucha Underground. Killer Kross is a name you may recognize from Impact Wrestling. He's a man who I think is going to be a big star. I'm not alone in that opinion, obviously, but I do think that he's got much bigger things written for him in his future, far bigger than he's got right now, once he leaves Impact, whenever that may be. He gave an interview to the Wrestling Perspective podcast. Remember Petey Williams? That's his podcast. And he gave an interview to the podcast confirming an earlier PW Insider report that he initially denied, very vehemently, that he requested his release some time ago from Impact Wrestling and that he was denied. And he was not happy when that story broke and said a lot of things, and it was very unfair, I thought, to the person who broke the story. Now, of course, he says that it was 100% true, which just goes to the point I was trying to make before on the Mike and Maria stuff. Sometimes they have their own interests and their own reasons to say that something is true, or rather say that something is false, or report is false, even though it's 100% true. And there are some sources and websites and people I trust more than others when it comes to wrestling news. And people were pretty consistent about the Mike and Maria stuff. So that's just another example. But the initial story on Killer Kross claimed that he was looking for a new 6-figure deal with Impact for guaranteed money. And instead, Impact counter-offered with a 3-year contract for a lot less than that. This is what Killer Kross said. He said, "I will humbly say that I barely even existed to the pro wrestling world prior to Impact Wrestling. I've never asked, in my opinion, for anything that I didn't think I deserved. I didn't think I would be asking for anything I couldn't contribute back. I was led to believe that it was not available to me. If you get a job and you were told that something you're looking for is not available, and then you come to find out 6 months later that that's not true, it's been available and other people have it, you can imagine that you would be a little disparaged." Kross said that his personal circumstances have changed since he signed his initial contract. He's got a family now to support. He said, "I personally don't really need much, but it's different when you have people to take care of. Circumstances change in life. You can't anticipate it. Being told," and this was quite the quote here, "being told to go get another job by your employer, that's fucked up. You are struggling to make ends meet taking care of people, and the job you can barely afford to have tells you to go get another job so that you can keep your existing job. It's like working at a corporation and being told to go work at McDonald's. It is a weird feeling." So he asked for a raise, and Impact told him to get a second job if he felt that he wasn't making enough money. That was their response to this man. Reminds me of Jesse Neal. Remember Jesse Neal? That name from the old days of TNA. After leaving TNA, he ended up working the night shift at Walmart. Some fan walked in one day, I guess, and they recognized him. So he had to go on social media and address it because it turned into a whole big thing. He was working the night shift at Walmart, and he claimed that he was making more money at Walmart than he ever did working for TNA. Not exactly an identical situation here, but it just reminded me of that story. It's always TNA. It always feels like it's Impact whenever I hear these stories. Now, the thing to remember is that outside of WWE and AEW, and maybe Ring of Honor, a lot of these Impact talents are non-exclusive. Some might be exclusive, but a lot of them are not, meaning that they have the ability to go work indies and book their own independent shots. Even promotions like MLW that have television. Apparently, if you are one of these people in Impact, you could even go work for MLW. You know, Impact's point of view would be, you can book your own shots independent of us and make more money that way to kind of supplement the income that you're bringing in through Impact. You know, and Killer Kross says he is allowed to work independent dates, but he thinks it's only a short-term solution that could turn south if he were to get injured. So if he got a serious injury, if he needed surgery, if he was going to be out for a while and he couldn't work because he's not making guaranteed money, so the only way to make money, you got to work. So he's just one injury, one torn muscle or broken bone away from potential disaster. He said, "I found out how much people are being paid, and I want to be paid on the same scale as that. I wasn't asking for anything that was honestly unreasonable. That's okay if the company does not agree that I am worth that. I will not take offense to that, but if they really feel that way after 1 year, If they feel I'm not worth what I'm asking, then professionally, please let me go somewhere else, and I will prove to everyone that I can draw what I am asking for. And in that same interview, he mentioned that his girlfriend, Scarlett Bordeaux, the two of them are an item, who also works for Impact, is in a worse situation than even he is, because she's still living at home with her mom and needs a side job to support herself in order to keep doing the wrestling stuff. Now, I don't know what her situation is. I don't know what her expenses are and all that, if she's living beyond her means. I don't know. But that's according to Killer Kross. According to PW Insider, Scarlett Bordeaux did sit down with Impact officials recently to discuss the situation. Nothing as of yet has come from it. Nothing has been resolved. But they are talking. They are discussing things. They both want to work for Impact, but they want to be paid more fairly. Fairly is a relative term. What you think is fair may be different than what I think is fair. So I think it's important to keep that context as well. I think it's terrible that he thinks other people are being paid more than him who don't deserve to be paid more. It's a terrible feeling. You could probably relate to that in any job that you're in. If you're passed over for a promotion for somebody else who doesn't do half the work that you do, yeah, you're going to be pretty pissed off about that. I think it's something that a lot of people can probably relate to. So if that's what's going on here, then that sucks. But the fact is, he signed the contract. I just don't get why you would sign a long-term, multi-year deal right now with Impact Wrestling. I don't get it. I mean, I guess at the time, he felt like maybe he was still a relative unknown. Impact is a brand. They have a name. They've got TV, kind of. And it sounded like a good deal to him at the time, so he put his name on the dotted line. But he signed the deal. And unlike Lucha Underground, where those people signed on for, X number of seasons, and the show was never canceled. Technically, Lucha Underground was never canceled. It's just sort of stuck in limbo right now. And those people were effectively being held hostage. This is different. But the reality is, he signed the contract. I don't know how much time he's got left. If it's multiple years, I don't know. But he's stuck, and it's really of his own doing. But I hope it gets worked out because he's a talented guy. He's got a great look. He speaks well. He's very articulate. I think he will go far. But it will not be with Impact because in Impact, you can only go so far. The exposure just is not there. It's just the nature of their TV deal right now, which is horrendous. Let us not forget, last week, they aired the wrong episode of Impact. I don't need to go down the list of things that have happened with Impact and Pursuit recently. And I don't expect anybody from Impact to come out and trash Pursuit because that's their TV partner. Maybe a few years from now, if they're on another network, the truth will come out and they'll have some interesting things to say about their relationship with Pursuit. Pursuit, by the way, is either owned in part or in full by Anthem, which is just, it blows my mind that Anthem could have an ownership stake in both the network they're on and, Impact Wrestling itself. And this is what's going on. So they have a horrendous television deal right now. I don't know what the exact number is in terms of the number of people they're down to every week watching that show. They put the show on Twitch, so they get some viewers that way. So I don't know what the actual Pursuit viewership is, but it's got to be minuscule. It's got to be far less than even what Lucha Underground was doing on El Rey. And El Rey is not exactly a widely accessible network. So their television deal right now is absolutely horrendous. He's only going to go so far. It's just not going to happen in Impact Wrestling. Only when he's able to leave and go somewhere else, wherever that may be, do I think he will finally strike gold and hopefully he'll take off. Because I really think he could be a big, big star.